Hello, everyone. Andy Petrillo, Oliver Platt of One Soccer here, getting you set for the Island Games, which kick off on August 13th in Prince Edward Island. We're going to be taking a look at all 8 teams and the burning questions surrounding each of them. Today, Pacific FC.
Yeah, the question for Pacific, I'm wondering, is if they have enough depth. I think every team in this league, or almost every team, is going to bring at least 21 players. I've spoken to a couple of GMs and coaches who think it would be a mistake to bring anything less than the full 23-man roster. Pacific reportedly only bringing 19 players, so there's a lot to like on this roster. Marco Bustos could be the best player in the league. The starting 11, I think, could be as strong as any in the Canadian Premier League, and obviously a new coach in Pamadou Carr coming in as well. But you look at the abridged preseason these teams have had, the lack of friendly games, the unusual lead up to this tournament, and then the compressed schedule at this tournament as well. And I just wonder if they're going to regret not having a bit of a deeper squad and not having a few more options at the Island Games. The burning question for FC Edmonton, for me, is what can they get out of Hansen Boakai and Kevin Alaman, the 2 newcomers to their squads. Hardcore Canadian soccer fans will remember these guys from the youth national teams. They played at U17 World Cups. Alaman was in the TFC Academy. Boakai was the youngest ever NASL player with FC Edmonton. So they're coming back. They're going to need them to inject some creativity and some craft into a team that really lacked it last year. We've seen these guys go abroad. Their careers haven't really panned out as they wanted to. They've done what so many Canadian players have done, which is bounce around different teams, not really get that stability and continuity, and they haven't been in the men's national team picture as a result. Now, they've seen with their teammate Emir Didic that in the Canadian Premier League, you have a chance to get that national team claim. That's what these guys are going to want to do, and FC Edmonton will need them to be that good to have a chance of being successful this year. The big question for Cavalry is, can they be better than last year? They've lost some key players, and a big one is Dominique Malonga. They said in the off-season they wanted to get better up front and not just replace Malonga, but actually improve that front line. Now, I think they have some interesting players coming in Yair Cordova, who's that direct replacement for Malonga. They brought in Jose Hernandez from Pacific. But they've also had some hurdles to overcome. Richard Luca, the Brazilian player they were very excited about, he didn't make it into the country. And the same goes for Jose Escalante, who got stuck outside Canada with visa issues as well. So I think Cavalry have made some interesting additions. The question is, have they really upgraded that roster from last year? And have they found that extra bit of magic that they were lacking in the CPL finals?
Cavalry, the winner of the spring and fall titles, that's for sure. But as you mentioned, fell short to Forge in that North Star Shield battle.
This one's an easy one for me. The defense has got to be better than it was last year. Can the new signings they've made upgrade that back line? They conceded 52 goals last season. We all remember the 8-0 loss against Cavalry. That was a real low point. So some interesting faces coming in. James Pantemis has obviously been in Canada squads. He's going to play in goal for them this year. Andrew Jean-Baptiste is an international with Haiti, and Arnold Bukamutu at left back is coming in from a top division in France, Ligue 1. So he's got some real pedigree as well. So I think the personnel will be better, but that's only half of the problem. The other half was just the attitude and the commitment, not just in the defense, but all over the team to really defend with that collective effort. So I think the personnel is better. Now we've got to wait and see if they change their approach to overall defending this year. York 9, can they live up to the hype? This is the team everyone's talking about in the off-season. I think around the club, not just the players, but the staff as well, have a new sense of purpose with the changes that have happened there. And the roster looks strong. The defense, they've mostly brought back the guys from last year. They've got a strong core returning. They've added Chris Manella in midfield, who I think is going to be a really big addition and like another captain on the field for them. And then up front, so much talent. Ryan Telfer's back. We didn't expect that. Michael Petrasso's coming from Valor. He can be one of the best players in the league on his day. And some interesting international players too, headlined by Gabriel Vasconcelos, the Brazilian. So all the ingredients are there for Jimmy Brennan to have a very successful season. Now they've just got to put it all together. They've got to find chemistry quickly in a shortened season and see if they can live up to these big expectations that have been set for York 9. The champions, my question is, are they still the team to beat? And I'll answer my own question and say, yes, I think they are. I want to highlight David Edgar here because he came in mid-season, obviously, last year. He still hasn't lost a game in the Canadian Premier League. They played Cavalry 4 times with David Edgar in the lineup. They won every game with a clean sheet. So their record with Edgar alongside Daniel Crutzen is incredible. That, for me, makes them a team to beat when you add in Kyle Becker and Ashanioti Jonsson and the new addition of Maxime Tissot. The other question for Forge is can they find another breakout player like Tristan Borges up front? They've got 6 or 7 guys who are going to share those minutes, at least to begin with, in the forward positions and the wide positions. If just 1 or 2 of those guys can break out just in any way like Tristan Borges did, this is going to be a really difficult team to beat, and it's going to have a great chance of defending that title. It's just, can they be competitive in this first year? They were late starters, obviously, with the expansion announcement. There wasn't a big pool of Canadian players to choose from at that stage, and so we always knew that this team was going to rely on internationals, at least early on. The problem is that's been complicated by the fact that it's been so difficult to get players into the country and make those signings because of the pandemic. So Atletico Ottawa, they're a young team. They've got some interesting young players, and I'm pleased that they're building around young guys that I think maybe in 2021, 2022 could start to flourish. But this year, I think it's going to be difficult for them. And the question is just how competitive can they be in this debut season?
Always difficult for a team entering a league that's already been established, but already great to see that in year two, it's expanding.
HFX wonder is how quickly can this team hit the ground running? I think we were all a little bit surprised by the amount of changes they made in the off-season. Player of the Year, Matthew Arnone, was among a number of players who are leaving the club, but I've been really impressed with the way they've rebuilt, and Stephen Hart has put together this team. You know, you have Peter Schala coming back, which obviously should be big for them. Louis Bellangoyet, I think, will hold that midfield together, and some real talent up front, led by Alex Marshall, the Jamaica international, and everyone in Halifax can't stop talking about Yohan Morelli, who's going to be the number 10 who kind of knits it all together. So some really interesting additions, but they're going to come into this season with maybe not much chemistry, not a lot of time to prepare, not the usual schedule of preseason friendlies to kind of acclimatize. So in a shortened season, when every game matters and you need to start quickly to get to that knockout stage, the question will be how quickly can the Wanderers hit the ground running.
Travel and change of time zones, we know, affected this team the most last year. Yeah. So good news, they're staying in the same time zone. Bad news, so is everybody else. Every game right here on One Soccer beginning August 13th.